Good morning, everybody. This is IT Live. I'm not Joe Cook. Joe Cook's coming back from Destin, Florida. I talked to him this morning. He was in Mississippi driving through a rainstorm. But Joe will be back with us for the Friday shows. But I'm here, Chop Liver, with Ian Boyd, Justin Wells. We're going to talk college football playoffs, all the Destin stuff coming out of the meetings. And then we're going to look at some of the recruiting notebooks of some players that look pretty exciting. Hopefully they'll join the Longhorns. Cotton, what's up, man? We're going to start off with Del Conte and his latest comments. And ADs and presidents are going to be a little more tight-lipped. They're moving in a political realm a little bit more. You don't get the Lane Kiffin bluntness. But basically, the ADs and presidents listen to the coaches who can have slightly different feelings than an AD would, and the president might have a slightly different feeling. So they're in the information gathering stage. I just hope this information gathering does not continue for another 8 years, and then we're able to do something with it. So let's look first about automatic qualifiers, because that was the first thing. We've had a couple models come out. So the first one was automatic qualifiers, 4 SEC autos, 4 Big Ten autos, and then 2 apiece for the other conferences, and I think an at-large. Then the model kind of switched. The Big 12 and ACC got upset about that and wanted to talk about, merit and there shouldn't be autos. Then it switched to talk of this 5+11. So your 4 champions plus your other champion. And then the rest would be straight seeded, just who's the best. So that seems to be getting more take. But if you're confused on all the models coming out, don't be. It's a lot going on. Roaster, good morning. We will talk the RPM a little bit later. Okay, so asked if Del Conte prefers the 4 autos, Del Conte declined to answer and rather pointed to the fact that he entered this week in order to gather information and gain a better understanding of where his fellow administrators were coming from. What do you think the advantage is here? Do you like the 4 autos or do you like 5+11? I think either way, SEC is going to be fine here.
Can you explain the different formats again for the people that are watching that haven't dove in yet?
Listen, the people that are watching are as confused as the people that are covering it. It's a lot of talk about nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
This is just we're talking in cycles and in circles right now, constantly. And this guy's got an opinion. Well, this and this and this. If the fans are watching are confused, don't feel bad because everyone is confused, including CDC, including the NCAA, including the government. This is all a lot of talk.
So the 2 main models are the auto bid model. Okay, this is a separate one. SEC automatically gets 4 people in, no matter what. Big Ten automatically gets their top 4 in, no matter what. The Big Ten gets their top 2 in. The Big 12, I apologize, gets their top 2 in. The ACC gets their top 2 in. And then you take at-larges after that. Okay?
That's the 16-team model.
Yes, and that's an auto model. The other one that's came out, the Big 12 and ACC pushed back against that, even though getting 2 auto bid likely helps them. They started to talk about meritocracy and all this kind of stuff. So then the latest model is called the 5+11. Your 4 conference champions. The 5th one is going to be your group of 5 champion, whoever that is. And then the rest are just going to be straight, get them into the field. So that's the 5+11 versus auto bids. The argument is, do you believe that conferences should automatically reserve their spots like that with 4 bids, or could we just go champions plus straight seeding at the bottom? So the straight seeding model at SEC averages 6 teams in on average. So a straight seeding with the 5+11 would end up benefiting the SEC probably even more than the auto 4. So the Big 12 complained and then likely ended up switching to a model where they average to get 1 team in. Do you like teams to get in automatically or do you not like them to get in automatically? Here's the question.
I say no. I like the idea of the 5+11 because, like, a lot of years that's going to favor the SEC, but that's not necessarily that great for the SEC because Paul's term that's been so useful in all this lost column bias. There's going to be a bunch of good SEC teams that have like 3 or 4 losses that are probably better, like maybe even have a chance to win it all if they get on a heater. that are going to get left out in exchange for the 11-1 SMU or the 11-1 TCU or whatever. So I think 5+11 is better if you believe that, good teams can emerge anywhere in a given year, which they generally can. That may be less and less true the more we get into this Big Two conference model. But you would think that if you believe in relative parity, you would want the chance for at large. Also, when these committees get behind closed doors and pretend to deliberate, and then Big Mouth comes in and tells them what they're actually supposed to do, isn't that just going to favor the programs with affiliations to TV networks?
Voila.
Which includes the ACC and the Big 12, right?
Yeah, everyone has deals.
Everyone has deals. Like what? Yeah. They didn't save, like, if they were going to just promote the big programs, they would have put Alabama in last year. Unless that was just a feint to maintain the illusion of inclusion.
Well, Kalen DeBoer did say, he wished other people had his schedule last year.
Yeah. That's the big why you would even argue for the auto bids that they're saying is that there's lost column bias. So they're saying if we did auto bids, we guarantee 4 in no matter what, and we might get an at large on top of that, right? So Alabama or whoever was that 4th SEC team, they get in. That's the argument for auto bids. The flip side is if you're doing like a meritocracy in the straight seating, the irony is SC might get 5 in the auto bid structure, but the SEC, like I said, averages 6 in the 5+11. So the Big 12's argument against the auto bids actually will likely end up hurting the Big 12 again because they average 1 team in. So the argument is like the Big 12 should have just taken their 2 auto spots because it's more than they would normally have, but they didn't. So now we're in this weird spot where it's looking like 5+11 has the most public support. Straight seating champs.
Was it really the Big 12 that nixed it, or did your Mark just speak against it publicly?
I don't know if they nixed it officially, but ACC came out with a statement and Big 12 came out with a statement about the good of the game. And then remember that reporter asked Sankey a couple days ago about the good of the game, and he was like, "Don't talk to me about the good of the game. Like, I need ideas that work." That was in response to the Big 12 and the ACC saying, like, we don't want this auto bids. We want a meritocracy.
Feels like it's more the ACC, surely, and the Big 12 is just like, I don't know. Your Mark.
We messed up. We had a system. It's called the BCS.
No,
it worked just fine.
No, it didn't. It's
bull. It worked just fine. We didn't have all these teams pass. There's maybe 2 or 3 teams in the country every year that can win the national title. Maybe. And I get why we're doing it, but the BCS was working just fine. No one's going to find even ground on this. Because if it sways SEC Big 10 way, it's the TV money. If you want to continue to add ACC Big 12 to give them an extra bid, well, it's because they're lower level. And we got to make sure that they're involved and everything's on the up and up. There will never be any consensus on how to do this. We've had how many changes since we've had the playoff? How many changes have we had?
We went to the
nobody's happy. Every year, everyone's unhappy with the system. And then they go to Destin so they can ride off with their company to go hang out at the beach. Nothing got solved. Nothing got hammered down. It was all having drinks and discussing the complete chaos that they've created in the playoff system. Go back to the BCS where it's simple and people understand. You win this, you go here. You don't, you don't.
Here's the problem with the BCS is that bowl games were collapsing. Nobody was playing in them. And bowl games are when college football has a stranglehold on ratings, TV
Ryan
ratings.
Nelson knows.
People love watching bowl games in that bowl season. but college football no longer had any incentive to make those games any good. So what the playoffs does is it puts playoff games that we can pretend at least marginally matter for the championship.
You just nailed it right there.
Encourage
Marginally matter.
Encourage the players to actually play, and then get good games in the bowl windows.
Players were playing before that, Ian.
Not in the bowl games.
Yes, they were.
No, they
Yes,
weren't.
No, we were having.
We
were having opt-out problems the last 3 or 4 years.
There have been opt-out problems since 1960. You're always going to have 4 or 5 guys that are elite that might decide to opt out. Whether a handful more, sure. But the BCS was clear. It was concise. Do your job, and you get a chance to go here and win this. If you don't do your job, better luck next year. But now we're giving the 16th team in the country this idea that they could run through a gamut of teams that they're not going to beat to get to the playoff, because now we're going to an NFL schedule.
They had that in the BCS era too. The BCS era was arguments about Boise State and constant fiddling with the computer rankings to try to make sure Boise State.
Yeah, but Boise State never won a national championship because they weren't good enough to win a national championship. And if they were, they would have done something different. They weren't. They weren't involved. They weren't going to beat any of those teams. They could beat TCU. They could beat Oklahoma on a fluke night. That was it.
They put them in the separate but equal bowl with TCU, and they didn't let them play the good teams.
I know. Yeah, they did that. They did that once. Well, TCU was really good that year too. You know what it showed? Both of those teams were really good, and that's about as far as it needed to go. It didn't need to go another 3 weeks into February playing games to decide if they were any better or not. They weren't. I get it. I get it. From a college football standpoint, I get it. It's a gigantic money grab. I get it. More games equals more money. It's why the NFL owners didn't want to give up any of those exhibition games at the beginning of the season, because they can still charge full price for those guys compared to the regular season. I understand it. It's a ginormous money grab. And you know what happens when everybody's trying to grab a bunch of money? Nobody sees the same way twice. Nobody is on the same path. Nobody is synchronized. It's everybody out for themselves. We're going to be talking about this for the next 10 years on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, and it will continue to change. People will complain. And at the end of the day, the BCS was the most clear-cut, concise way to get us a national title.
College football and its champions have been contentious for the entirety of college football's existence.
Yes.
This is not new. This is
no, it's not. But social media has exacerbated it. This wasn't as big a deal until social media, when everyone was entitled to an opinion, publicly. No,
exacerbated
it was among friends.
I do agree. The BCS, technically, if we're talking about steps to a champion, it is the most efficient way.
Amen.
Right. But I'm a playoff guy. So it's like you're adding 8 steps, right? Because you're adding all of these games. So, I mean, the BCS just literally, you won your regular season and you went, right? So it's like it was a more straight line path. But I think they're going to end up probably doing the 5+11 here. But what's important too, that's contingent on the 9 game. So that's the thing they've been talking about since forever, like Justin says. But they asked El Conte, what do you think? Are you in favor of it? And he said he absolutely is, because of Red River. So they lose that home game every other year, right? So as AD, he wants to have games on campus. It's good for the program, good for the money. So
what if we had a 10-game season, whereas your 9 conference games, your 1 non-conference big game, maybe you could schedule Texas State for like a scrimmage or something. Maybe you could even
maybe a spring game.
You could even or a spring game or whatever. Televise that. 1 big non-conference game, 9 conference games, and then you can have your play into the playoffs and all this other garbage, and it won't be so bloated,
I like that.
And especially if
they're playing too many games, Ian. They're playing too many games.
So why is, and this isn't with college football, y'all will be able to explain it, but Two things. So here I have this idea that, the 3 conference games, you should just play the other 3 Power 4 conferences. That way everyone does that. Now you have strength of schedule. Now you have a metric you can introduce preseason that no one can argue with. That was a portion of the BCS that made it clear. But people want the tune-up games early, and the NFL plays these lengths of schedules. So why is it for college football not feasible to play these lengths of schedules, but like the NFL, for instance, can?
Because the NCAA aren't college football players aren't employees.
There's a big difference between a 22 to 30-year-old or 40 in some cases.
Massive difference.
Who knows how to train and knows how to recover. And also, if they can make it for 3 years, get lifetime health insurance. So when they're shooting up Toradol or whatever and taking all these long-term damaging choices, there's at least like life-changing return. These college football kids, they don't know how to stay healthy. They have to learn how to train and recover and all that.
Most aren't going pro.
The compensation is caught up. So at least there's that. Like if you make $1 million in college football and you get maybe a degree and all that, and then maybe you're like, well, I ruined my knees for the rest of my life. It's like, well, but that was a choice that wasn't like as lopsided as it was back in the day. It's like in high school football has a long playoff. High school football has a 10-game season and then potentially like 7 games to win a state championship.
If you want to win a state championship, you have to go 6 weeks.
So 16 games.
And 99% of those teams never play that length of a schedule.
Right.
But potentially 16-game schedule in high school
for 2 teams. Yes.
But they so it's similarly long. It's longer than college football.
For 2 teams. You can't compare it to the overall because it's only for 2 teams. Not every team goes that long. I see what you're trying to do, but you can't say, well, they all do that. No, they don't. Only 2 teams go 16.
Yeah,
but that's the same in college football. Only 2 teams go to the national championship.
So if you're good enough, you're going to play an extra game. You're going to play an extra couple games, just like you would in college football. That doesn't mean they're all doing it.
It's similar though. But it's not the same in that their
regular season is longer.
Their games are not as much of a grind because you got guys that look like me tackling you.
Well, the first few weeks aren't. You know what, Ian? You've got a point. The first few weeks of the playoffs aren't as bad because the Texas high school football has saturated the market with. I think 4 teams from your district can go into the playoffs now. So I've seen the first and second round games be complete blowouts. I've seen guys with losing records playing in the first and second round because of where their district was, because of their region, because of their seeding, things of that sort. So I agree with that part of it, Ian.
Now, he didn't survive this super well, but Sam Ellinger technically got 236 carries his junior year at Westlake. And lasted the whole season because it's just a different wear and tear.
He's kind of a different player, but yeah,
he did wear down after a few times of doing that against North Shore and Allen.
It probably caught up to him in college, Ian.
Probably caught up to him his senior year.
But,
yeah.
But I'm just saying it's not the same at all.
David Rawls and I know. That's who I grew up in. If you didn't win district, you didn't go to the playoffs. Period.
I think it was.
I loved it. I think
it was the top 2.
No, it wasn't.
Because
not in the 80s, it wasn't.
In 89, in Friday Night Lights, it's the top 2. And so the top 3 flip a coin.
Friday Night Lights, I love it.
In the 80s, it was 1.
That's 89.
In the 80s, it was 1.
Well, in 89, it was 2.
According to Friday Night Lights.
That's the book. The guy lived there.
They flipped a coin to see which team would get in.
Which of 2 out of 3. Because they flipped 3 coins and then the odd one out.
Okay, that was the movie. That wasn't the real life. That was the movie. Do you know how much of that movie is not actually real life?
It's in the book, Justin.
All right, well, I got to do it.
Just because I'm a little bit older, I understand it. I've gone through this. In the 80s, 1 team went. And it wasn't just football. Basketball, 1 team went. Baseball, 1 team went. That's just the way it was.
Guess what, guys?
In the book, and you can go.
We will continue this after the ad read, gentlemen. Academy Sports and Outdoors is your new home for Jordan. Gear up today and take flight. On the court, off the court, and above the court. Unleash your greatness with head-to-toe Jordan gear for the entire family. Available in-store and at academy.com. Elevated styles and shoes for everyone. Unstoppable value every single day. Plus, academy.com offers easy ways to save time, like free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup on academy.com orders, or choose same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. You can order by 4 p.m., get it to your house by 8 p.m. No stress. Check out our full Jordan selection today at Academy Sports and Outdoors. And
One team. Fans got to understand, they do a lot of that stuff in the movies for dramatic effect, for things of that, because they're making a motion picture and they want to make it exciting and intense and a protagonist and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't always like that. It was for a long time. It was one team. Now they adjusted it in the 90s. Forever though, it was one team.
I just looked it up. 1982, top two.
Okay. Well, so I guess it was that way for that one thing you looked up, but it was not that way for the other 300 districts.
All right. Let's continue. All right. So Del Conte talks about he's the only SEC team that hosted a playoff game. He also that's how you speak. He also spoke about wanting a second round at home too. Why wouldn't you, right? Because some of the problems too is the schools have said, you get that bye that first week, and that's great for your team if they want to rest, but not great for the school. They want to host these rounds. So that's a big thing too. What do you guys feel about what if the second round you end up in these bowl games, but really you just let like Valero or whoever sponsor that game? You just give them a little thing on the 25-yard line. It's the Valero game. How do you guys like the home atmospheres, or do you like going away off to the official bowl games all over the U.S.?
Home playoff games, if we're going to do this, that's the way to do it. Yes. You want to get your most bang for your buck, host a home playoff game. Last year against Clemson, that's the epitome of two guys battling. You get to your spot, you do exactly what you're supposed to do in this playoff format, and boom, you get to host a playoff. If you ask CDC, I don't know if there was a better atmosphere, a better opportunity. If we're going to do this, if we're going to go 16, and then in a couple of years, they're going to go 20, and then a couple more years, they'll go 24, 28. Once you continue to do this, those home playoff games, I think, are going to be actually probably the best of what this turns out to be.
The home playoff games were awesome.
Yeah.
You had Cade Klubnik coming home to Austin was a good storyline.
Storyline was perfect. The
atmosphere was great. That atmosphere at both extremes. Were you there with me, Justin? Were we both there for that?
Yes.
Yeah. That stadium got insanely loud at times, and it got deathly quiet during a couple of Cade Klubniks. The atmosphere was
like
amazing.
Any game.
Yeah.
But the crowd had like the full gamut of emotion in that game.
It's like a good movie.
Yeah,
you had the Notre Dame game in the snow. You had the Ohio State game where those Tennessee boys had to play in the cold, and they didn't like it very much. There was all kinds of awesome, tidbits that you get when you allow that. It increases the variance overall because you're not just playing in a climate control.
I think it increases the motivation for the staff and the players as well.
Yeah, and it incentivizes you being a higher seed, right?
Absolutely.
You get the benefit there. So do you think it should continue into the second round even?
Yes.
I want to do the whole playoffs at home games and then at the end go somewhere.
Yeah, like FCS.
They've been trying to kill the bowl system for a long time. This will be the end of that.
Players are going to be mad, though, because they don't get their free headphones and all the cool stuff they get at their bowl games.
They won't be mad because they'll be buying them for the whole team because they get more money than some of the coaches.
Yeah, that's true. They can buy their own headphones at that point, too.
Yeah,
most of those guys you see headphones, nobody bought those. Those were a sponsored gift.
Oh yeah, those are promotional tools. That's what I'm saying. But you remember, you would go to the bowl games.
No, I know swag.
Yeah,
they would load up. Hey, in the Sugar Bowl, I think they were able to choose from like a place. It was a PlayStation, and it was like a nice watch, and it was like a bunch of a Lazy Boy recliner. Like they had like a gallery where you could walk through and pick up tickets of what things you wanted.
Yeah.
but I don't. But the players are the only ones that get to enjoy that. That's not a fan thing.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be players are fine now, Homer. They're getting paid now for sure. They can afford their own, and that was also kind of.
I like to see all the free stuff. Hey, when we cover some of those bowl games, we get free stuff: hoodies, hats, backpacks.
I got a backpack. Yeah, those backpacks.
Things of that sort. Those are all fun and great. I'm all about that.
Yeah, and also when the kids, I keep saying that the players when they would get whenever they weren't allowed to make money, that was kind of the perk of the bowl game. But now that you guys make money, it's like go to Best Buy and you'll be fine. You guys,
they were always making money.
yeah, officially. All right, so here's a couple things. So here's what the straight seeding, no championship. This is just a fun exercise to be like that would have been some fun games. So here's the 16-team bracket, straight seed. We're not talking models. Where you were ranked is where you go. No champions, blah blah blah. But these are a lot of the matchups that would have happened last year. That would have been fun. So Texas would have played Ole Miss in the first round.
Or Tennessee. No. Ole Miss.
No,
okay, I'm sorry. I see the way it's staggered.
So you would have Bama, Ohio State.
Dude, I'm going to tell you what. Sark and Kiffin pregame on that one would have been must watch.
Yeah.
They would have had a lot of fun with that. They would have gone back and forth. That would have been a lot of fun. This looks fantastic.
I know. It looks fun.
But you know what else? It killed the regular – what regular season? What regular season?
Yeah, but still, man.
That's the NBA. You're going to the NBA model right there.
Yeah, I'm
first 82 don't matter. Now it matters.
Yeah,
I like Tennessee, SMU, whatever. Georgia, South Carolina, man.
SMU
I just like
Tennessee.
I just liked South Carolina last year, man. They were fun to watch.
Well, they were hot late.
Yeah.
And that was a team that if they were to have gotten into the playoffs, they would have probably made a run. Lenore Sellers was healthy, and he was doing really well. They had the best defensive line in the SEC, if not the country. South Carolina is that outlier that, hey, they were kind of clicking at the right time late. If they were to get in, similar to a wild card baseball team in the playoffs that comes in hot and winds up winning the thing because they're the hottest team going in, South Carolina would have made a run.
I agree, man.
I may write this up today on the website.
Oh, I love it. I love it when Ian puts words to it.
South Carolina goes to the semifinal in this, I think.
It's not crazy. We just had Shane Beamer beats Georgia.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Gunnar Stockton, you have Gunnar Stockton. But also, yeah, you would have had Gunnar Stockton.
Oh, yeah.
I got another take. Just tell me when you're ready.
Go for it. Fire it away, man.
Texas loses in the first round.
Yes.
You said that pregame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that? Texas offense versus the Ole Miss defense is where you think it's bad?
Yeah. Arizona State, Ole Miss could do what Arizona State did, and Jackson Dart and that offense are probably just like marginally better than the Arizona State offense, I would say.
Well, Sam Leavitt wasn't really playing offense.
That's a toss-up on offensive. That's toss-up. Scatterbo, Ole Miss didn't have a Scatterbo. So
I was going to say that he's the weapon X, but Sam Leavitt would just run around for 30 seconds, then throw it. He wasn't really like playing offense. It was more street ball. So I wonder if Ole Miss could actually have like stayed within the form, hit their posts, that kind of stuff.
Dart had a lesser version of street ball, and then he actually had receivers.
Yeah.
Which Leavitt did not have any receivers at all.
Yeah.
Well, he had one great one, but he was hurt at the end of the year.
Right. In that game, he didn't have
Right.
I think, Penn State still has a good ride. They still lose to Notre Dame. Boise State versus Indiana, I have no idea how that turns out.
That would be a fun game to watch.
Is that Clemson to Oregon?
I'll disagree.
But it's both of those like should you be here teams, So
yeah, I know. And I'm not into watching the should you be here bowl.
I like it.
Oregon does so much better in this. It's probably like an Oregon Ohio State.
You're right, Ian. You're right. This would have been a better. Oh my God, Oregon could have walked into this thing.
Yeah, it would have been Oregon versus Notre Dame on their side, right? And then
they should have. They were undefeated, and then they got just that absolute screw job playing Ohio State in the first game.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a screw job. They got beat by a better team. A more well-funded team, believe it or not, but that had more depth and more invested in NIL. Strangely enough.
it doesn't super matter because Ohio State was the champion.
True.
But Oregon did not get the sort of draw that a sole undefeated number
I
one
agree.
seed should have gotten.
Yeah.
Not for what their bye gave them, and like you said, that number one seed.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Yeah, you didn't. Their seed wasn't.
No one's going to look back.
I'm sure
and say,
Dan Lanning, who is a frequent listener and watcher of this show, good to see you, Coach Lanning. I'm sure he would agree with you.
Probably.
Yeah.
He jumped in the swimming pool right before he turned this on.
Man, don't do that, coaches. Don't do that. Would second round be on campus in this scenario? No, not officially, but it'd be sick if it was.
It'd probably be the same, right?
So you would get Oregon at home. If we pick winners, you would get Oregon at home, Boise State at home, Penn State at home, Notre Dame at home, South Carolina at home. Tennessee or SMU.
I want to be on this other bracket. Ooh, on this other side.
Ole Miss would get a home game, and then Ohio State would get a home game. Second round.
Home playoff games are the only thing I like about this. Yeah. And I think it's because it's a win-win for everyone. Both teams, both fan bases, the networks. That's why I like that. And I'm a bowl guy. I'm an old school guy. You can tell by my BCS chatter. I'm an old school. I actually do like the bowls. But I saw what a playoff home game does to the sport, and we haven't seen that before, and I liked it.
Yeah, it was cool. And it makes good money for everyone. It's
good money, good television, good storylines. And now that we go from 16, I'm ready for that conversation to 20. I'm ready for that conversation to 24. Bill Self even mentioned something in the SEC or the Big 12 deal that they wouldn't mind if they expanded the NCAA basketball tournament from 64 to potentially 72, maybe even 78. At this level, all the model is going to do is continually generate more games because it generates more revenue. We're going to get to a point where every game is going to be a playoff, but it actually won't be.
Yeah. I mean, I think there will be that growth thing.
Let 80 in. Let 80 teams in March Madness. 80, 88. Who cares?
Well,
you know it's done. It's killed the product in basketball, by the way.
I don't watch it enough to even know how the product's been.
You used to, though.
Yeah, when I was younger, but maybe that's the answer, right?
Which playoff?
March Madness.
March Madness.
Oh, what killed that is the transfer portal, right?
Well, no, what killed that, and we don't want to go veer too off, but what killed that was the one and dones. When they let them just either not go or go and leave after 1 year, then you killed every bit of development that college was actually producing for the NBA, and that's why they all go international now because actual fundamentals are taught everywhere in the world except for America. You go to any other country, any other nation, they teach fundamentals religiously in basketball. In America, they only teach shooting threes and dunking. And now it's all started to catch up to them, and that's why the NBA is half international ball now. And it's better basketball, so I'm cool.
They did have a switch, though, where, like, the one-and-dones killed the top programs.
Yes.
And you started seeing smaller programs get better because they actually developed. Villanova, Gonzaga, Baylor. Virginia, Texas
Gonzaga.
Tech. But then the transfer portal has killed that. So that now the mid-majors have been gutted because they can't actually develop their players anymore because they get bought up by the bigger schools.
And we can steer this back to football. It did the same thing to football, Ian. Look at UTSA. 2 years ago, Texas played UTSA. It was tied at halftime. It was a ball game into the third quarter because UTSA had some dudes. 2 years later, after NIL goes through that roster and all the other mid-major schools, now those teams have zero shot because even the little bit of talent they had is now depth for a bigger program.
Get farmed. All right. Before we keep going, guys, let's hear a word from Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
I just read this cool tweet from On3. The College Football Hall of Fame will lower its win percentage from 60% to 59.5%, so Mike Leach can join.
They should have just made an exemption for Mike
Right.
Leach and kept the standard. We don't have to lower standards when there's an outlier, when there's an exception, when there's something we can discuss that could change, because there's always things of that sort. Don't lower the standard. Just understand Mike Leach's reach was much more greater than a 59.5% winning percentage.
A 60% winning percentage in general is dumb, because
It's not that good either.
college football is not that anymore. And if you work your way up at smaller schools and try to build your teams the right way, you're not going to have a 60% winning percentage. Only the guys that are at the top programs for their whole careers will do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of
60% wins.
Yeah, that's dumb.
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way.
Make the exception. Ian nailed it. Make the exception. You know,
Sure.
There's going to be exceptions. It's just the way to. Lee Corso, I don't know what his winning percentage is, but you're going to tell me he doesn't go in the Hall of Fame because he didn't win 60% as a coach?
Right.
If Sark wins the national championship with Arch, he's going to end up being one of the most famous college football coaches of all time. But is he going to be a 60% winning percentage over his career?
It's going to be close. It's going to be close just because of the way his first part of his career went.
Yeah.
But he's going to be famous. He's going to be a legend if he does that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense.
But also, like Justin was saying, the factor of Leach is like, it's not just what he did on the field. It was his reach and his tentacles and his style of, so it's like that was also had huge, and that's hard to quantify, but I agree. Don't just put an arbitrary number
Hard to
on
quantify.
it. All right. This is Dellinger from yesterday. Kirby Smart tells y'all sport that collectives are striking deals with high school recruits to keep and gain their commitments, paying them as much as $20,000 a month in this unregulated market. If they decommit, Justin picked up on this yesterday too when we talked about it, they are being asked to return the compensation. Hey, I'm sure that's going to go great because we know
it's unregulated.
Yeah.
So what grounds do you have to get that return compensation? Look, what Kirby says is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
This is happening rampantly. Okay. But guess what? You're not getting the money back. That's your risk that you're taking dealing with a 17-year-old that could be a little indecisive in his growth. That's the risk you're taking. I know a couple schools in this SEC conference that have been bit hard by this, spending a ton of money on recruits before they actually sign, and then they wind up flipping and not going to LSU, and LSU sitting there going, we just spent all that money every month, and now we have nothing to show for it. Guess what, buddy? That's the game that's being played right now.
It's really gross.
Oh, it's slimy. And you know why? Because a lot of it has nothing to do with the kids.
It's the agents.
And the
It's
parents.
free agents.
It's
and
the parents. If there's one cycle where I've seen Coach Sark really focus on a particular part of recruitment, it's this one, in that they're no longer just recruiting the player, they're recruiting the parents. You got to take it's as a whole now, and it's always in some sense been that way, but now more than ever, it has to be a family recruitment, because if you get parents that are kind of in this range that are doing this, it goes sideways.
I wonder how much of that money is actually getting to the kid or getting to the kid's future too.
It's all going to mom and dad's account.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm not sure how much the kids see of it. I don't know.
That's like question. But that's like showbiz parents, right? Like in the film industry, like you have this problem where how much of this is even going to the player or being set aside for the player's future?
I know a kid that reclassified this year from 2027 to 2026, and he didn't even want to. His dad made him do it.
Yeah.
Who is the guy? Who's the Quinn's agent? What's his name again? And he went on Smokey and had a long interview with Smokey.
Boy, that was a disaster. It's not Jeff? It's
Gavin or something.
Sunderland or no, something like that.
Wow.
But I know who you're talking about.
I don't think we're anywhere close. But the interview was obviously like him trying to justify himself for the fact
Slavin.
He's trying to justify himself for the fact that his client could have come back to college for a huge bag and instead got drafted in the 7th round. And so the whole thing was like a big CYA. But he made a number of amazing points in the interview where he was describing the landscape. And he talked about how this is very self-serving as well. But he's talking about how there are all these street agents in the game that take enormous commissions from the players and encourage the players to transfer every year because every time they get a new contract, the street agent takes another cut. And I wonder, we talk about contracts, we talk about all these changes that could help fix this. I wonder if they could just squeeze out the bad players somehow.
You can't.
What if you had a law? What if you had a Texas law?
Like the NFL and make them accredited, right? Like make them actually
the
have
fact that they're not certified.
Right.
It's so irresponsible to let an 18-year-old kid talk to an agent that's uncertified. Look, you know what the NFL percentage is? 3%. They're getting 20%, 30% in some cases. There's a recruit in this class who signed with a guy that's getting 35% of what he makes for the rest of his life.
All they have to do.
And trust me, since then, the family and more attorneys have gotten involved and tried to avoid that deal. That's what we're dealing with. And fellas, it's only getting dirtier.
All they have to do is for the SEC and Big Ten to get together and say, if you don't meet an accreditation, we don't deal with you.
And enforce it. Enforce it.
I don't care if you're representing the top 5-star in the country. We're not doing deals with you. We'll go DM him and tell him you got to use an accredited agent. You do that and you clean up a lot of this. And you clean up a lot of what people hate right now about what's happening in college football.
Dude, a lot of them aren't agents. They're like marketing firms too. Like you're dealing with like people that aren't even like typical sports agencies. You have these guys like athlete marketing firms that are
consulting firms.
Yeah, you have like all this nonsense, and so they have to get accredited because like that 35 number is just like I didn't even know that. That's nuts, dude. In perpetuity for life. So it's like that you have to do that model with the NFL. You have to accredit these guys because there's too many predators out here, as we can see. They're just going to take advantage of, families and players that don't have business sense yet. Because why would they? They've never been in these type of deals.
They don't know what they don't know, Homer.
Right.
That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
I've sat on porches with a lot of these parents and talked and answered a lot of questions. They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. But $20,000 a month, man. That ain't bad, right?
That's a little exaggerated. I think there were a few of them in that range, but I think it was more. It was more in like the $5 to $10,000 a month range from the guys that I'd heard about.
So to me, it's a silly strategy for a couple of reasons. So you get right. Let's talk landing. Right, you do the video where you're jumping in the pool. It's cringy, but everyone's like, "Hey, man,
you have to do. If the kid wants to do it, you want to get him. You kind of have to do it. You got to play along."
It's cringy, and Wesley's a damn good player. So you do it, right? But the problem is that's cool. You make a social. I was going to say make a splash, no pun intended. But you make a splash for a second, and everybody goes, "Good job on Oregon." But then you see it was really short this time. But talk about a fake team. Then say 2 months later they do decommit. Now you get bad press. So to me, the risk reward here on trying to do these early commitments are silly.
They have to take that risk, in my opinion, because if you don't. What if you lose that connection? What if the kid gets a little put off? Then you lose the number 2 edge in the country who could make a gigantic difference in your program for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm with you. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. I think you just sort of play it circumstance by circumstance, player by player, maybe whisper to him, do we really want to do this? Because your agent's already knocking us for more money. Do we really want this? Because understanding that particular recruitment, the agent is really running that. And as you can tell, guy wasn't even committed for 2 months.
Yeah.
Sark's method often seems to be keep his powder dry and then come in over the top in December with with the huge bag.
Well, not necessarily a huge bag, but they finally make that push in late November, early December. They finally set the ground rules for who they want and what they'll pay for.
$40 million bag.
And it's also they let, like with I'll give you an example. There was a big time defensive lineman out of Georgia that signed with Texas last year that people are a little surprised. The in-state coach there was negotiating against himself. Texas didn't make any offers till 12 hours before that guy made his decision. They let that coach negotiate against himself over and over again while Sark just sat back and goes, keep going. And then right before he was to announce, make the call. He's at Texas. Probably going to play this year.
Did Fasusi help that? When Fasusi didn't come, they were like, all right, well, we're going to be able to fire even more at Justice Terry?
No. The Fasusi stuff, it's allocated by position. And so what the Fasusi recruitment did is that's actually going to allow them to afford Felix Ojo and John Turntine in the same cycle. Losing Fasusi sucked. That's tough. But you can look at the next class and go, okay, the top 2 offensive tackles on our big board, we can afford both of them now.
Yeah.
Justin just confirmed it, but I had heard from a guy that Texas, the way that they allocate money positionally is like exactly what we at Inside Texas want to hear, which is offensive tackles and defensive tackles. That's where the big money, that's where they save the
tiers.
Money.
There's tiers.
That's where the big money is for, because they're like, if we don't get those guys. And I believe, I don't know if this is true, but everybody seems to be suggesting as much. I don't know if quarterbacks at Texas even get money from the Texas One Fund. They might get some.
It's not what you think, because
they don't get that much because they don't need to, because they are the biggest athlete in the city of Austin.
Yeah.
Which is now a metro area of like what?
When it's all said and done, people are going to be shocked at how little Arch actually took from Texas NIL and how much he actually made from just creating his own brand, commercials, marketing, things of that sort. People are going to be shocked at how little Texas actually paid him for his time there.
Because if you're a business in Austin, you don't need to give a lick about football or Texas doing well to say, hey, but I might want Arch freaking Manning endorsing my product because he's Arch Manning.
Well, I was telling you, my grandma was asking me about Arch Manning's recruitment. Like, that's like, the scale of it.
My mother does the same thing.
Yeah, but it's just like, I'm like, dude, if it's getting, I mean, that was just a societal thing of like, where's Arch Manning?
Well, it's up on if you open your computer, it's up on that Google page or whatever.
It was on Fox News. It was on all over
like today. EA College Football 2026, they dropped their trailer today. Yeah. Arch Manning already has a video. I already tweeted it out. It's amazing. I can't wait.
They did the drone show and everything, dude.
Cool. I'm into it.
Yeah. You want another take?
Always. I love Ian's takes.
Let's say Arch is making tens of millions of dollars at Texas just in advertising. That means he could pick his spot for the NFL draft. So he could wait and play 2 years at Texas and make more money than he would have in the NFL potentially, or comparable amount of money, because
it will be comparable.
He's going to get advertising
first pick. That's a lot, but understand with that first pick, that's like guaranteed money, and I would wonder how much of the other side of it. No, but I'm with you. That's actually
you can make guaranteed ad money at Texas too, though. But here's the thing: so he can wait 2 years to go and give us 2 years, but he can also finish this year, and if he's in that top 3 conversation, look at who's drafting and who might be drafting the next year.
Right. If it's a bad team, hold out.
Decision on when to leave based on not going to a crappy franchise.
Do you know who's done that before?
Who?
The Mannings.
Oh, yeah.
But they leveraged Eli leveraged in that.
Eli didn't have to. Eli went 4 years. Eli could have left earlier the year before, and I think
you just want a good team. You want a good team to have a really bad year. You want a good team to have a really bad year, and then that's the year you go. You don't want to go to like a perennial bad team but you hope a good organization has like an off year. That's the year you'd go if you're with Arch. All right.
Or just an organization that has like just not like Cleveland, not the Bengals.
Yeah.
Not one of the ones where it's like just terrible ownership, terribly managed.
Yeah.
I wonder what they would think of the Cowboys, because the Cowboys are run like this awful, unbelievably badly run. But he would make a mint.
Dude, can you imagine Arch ran into the Cowboys, dude? Oof.
I don't have the mental capacity for that, but I'm all for it.
Exactly.
Bring it to me, baby.
Yeah.
Justin would get sucked in.
Oh man, so hard.
I think I would too.
I would too. All right.
Can you imagine the constant stuff on SportsCenter, the constant stuff on social media, the constant interviews? Because the beat writers for the Dallas Cowboys, you know why they call them that? Because they beat you down with OTA clips and little blurbs from Jerry Jones when he stutters and slurs at 84. Like that's why they call them beat writers in Dallas, because they beat you senseless with the most unnecessary information.
This guy worked out hard. And that's my favorite one.
Star in OTAs against the air. I mean, star. George Pickens wears number 13. I got to write a story.
Yeah.
I feel sorry. And look, I got some really good buddies on that beat. Those are great guys. But, man, that's why they call them beat writers in Dallas, because they beat you.
Should the quarterbacks get anything before they start? Arch being an outlier, of course. My quick opinion is
doesn't work that way.
My question is: are you talking about getting paid in house, or it's like NIL? If your name is worth something, you'll make the money. It doesn't really matter where your ranking or your depth chart is. I mean,
you can't base it on starting and not starting. You can't base it off that.
Yeah,
a lot of these guys have potential. You got to.
Well, and also too, you're probably like, say you're bringing in a 5-star. He's going to start in 2 years. It doesn't mean you don't pay him.
He's only coming if you and there's a good chance he's coming because of what you're paying.
Correct. So it's like,
Justin may know better than me, but I get the sense that a lot of Texas's 4-star guys make a lot less than you would think before they start. But once they start or otherwise have the leverage, then they start making big money.
Can I give you a quick example? There's a player at Texas last 2 years made around 50 or 60 total. One of those 4-star guys made like 50 or 60 total. Somebody got hurt in a really big game. He slid in and it dropped off none. Actually, the position actually got maybe a little bit stronger. That dollar amount changed 2 hours after that game. It actually quadrupled.
Wow.
So they went from, okay, we're happy with making this. And it's like, okay, now the new price is $400K. Yeah. Now the new price is $500K. Yeah. That's you nailed it. Once they make an impact on the field, gas it up.
Yeah.
And that's the market.
Yeah.
That's the market.
That's how it works.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
And it's exactly how it should be. That is so incentive-based. And that young man worked hard to get that first salary. And then he understood, okay, my job when I come in and do it. And once he went in and did it and actually killed people, it's like, you're worth a lot more now. And that's a smart family. And and Texas understood that and reciprocated.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's great. All right. We'll do it quickly, gentlemen. We had a couple of recruiting notebooks. Ian gave us his eval. Justin always hooks us up, gives us the context and everything. Let's look at the linebacker, Xavier Griffin. Gainesville, Georgia.
Edge.
We'll see.
On 3 has him listed at line. Yeah. I know I was talking to everybody.
And we'll see why we can say Edge here in about 2 seconds. But he was USC decommit, right?
Yeah. He was on campus in April. You wanted to take more visits. USC said, "Well, we don't want you to do that. You're not allowed to do that." And he said, "Peace," and reopened it.
Cool. Well, let's watch him here because I think there's some interesting stuff for us. You'll like what he does here.
Who's this?
Xavier Griffin. This is the guy, Ian, where you had some trepidation on positional potential.
Yep, I remember.
But he is exciting. Okay, like twitchy, explosive. There's a suddenness there. And here's the thing, too. He's 6'4", about 200, 205 pounds, size 16 shoe. He's still 16 years old. This kid is only going to morph into a bigger prospect. Right now, it's down to Texas and Alabama. And he just announced yesterday his commitment date. I believe it's June 29th. I think it's in the late part of June. So I think Griffin has a pretty good idea where he's going to go. I think it's going to come down to Alabama and Texas. But the Horns and Leal and Clark really put themselves in a great position for this kid.
So I saw like 6'2", 6'3", 205, and the way he moves off the ball, I think maybe just a linebacker, just a Mike linebacker. But if he's really 6'4", then he'll just end up as a buck because he'll fill in.
That was his measurement at the unofficial visit for Texas and per his mom, because they measure at those places.
And what does he want to be? He wants to be an edge.
He just wants to be a football player that makes plays and has a chance at the NFL.
I didn't know if you wanted to use him like an Anthony Hill, right, where you can fire him like that. When
I asked him, he talked about Colin Simmons.
Okay.
And Zena Umeozulu. So I think he was in that mindset. But here, who played edge as a freshman linebacker? Anthony Hill. So he's versatile. He's going to be able to do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I was ready to move Hill to edge full time in his freshman year.
No kidding.
Yeah. And he's got the frame, right? He's still skinny right now, but he's going to be able to put it on the arms.
Ooh, yeah, he's a string bean. And it's I think it's from basketball because he's a pretty good basketball player. Yeah. But yeah, his metabolism is the only thing he's battling right now. That kid's you get him into strength and conditioning, he's got the frame, the mold, all that good stuff.
Reminds me of Rackbone.
Look at him right there compared to his teammates. It's funny when you can see the NFL guys in high school that easy.
What level is this?
That's a good question, Ian. I thought about that the other day. I don't know.
It's got to be high enough. The athletes look all right. It's not like
and the linemen are big enough. Yeah,
the linemen look big enough. Is that rubble?
Yeah, that was rubble.
No, he's scared of you. Scared me.
Knock this whole thing down because he's being an idiot.
Oh, I thought he barked.
No, he bumped into something, and it was a little frame thing I had put up on the wall, and he bumped it because he can't walk around the house without bumping something.
Dude, Bulldogs, man.
He's 110 pounds of fat.
This play is crazy, right? Here he realizes
this chase down.
Yeah, he realized like once he got slowed up, he's like, I can actually get this, and he got on his course.
That's my favorite play.
Some of these ones where he loops inside. See this. Whoever was asking me and Paul, or me
thank you, Ryan,
Connor, if Colin Simmons was an exception, that was me and you, Connor.
That was me and you.
I asked if you can zone read Colin Simmons or if he's too fast. A couple plays ago, Griffin.
He blew up the mesh.
He played the inside and the outside option, and he waited, and then he just tackled the ball.
Yeah.
Which is harder in college than it is at high school, but still.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and on a limb here. I'm going to say he's the take. I think we would like to add him. Oh, look there, they got Longhorns.
I think Bama has a slight edge, and that's why I think that official visit to Texas in June is going to be critical.
Yeah, I think Bama just got some type of, I don't know if it was an RPM or another service, but Bama
they did. Wilt Fong put in an RPM for him right after he announced what his commitment date would be. The beauty of that is it's a month away, and you think Texas is going to blink.
And you know your competition.
Texas isn't going to blink. How many times they see a kid commit in the summer and they're like, "Yeah, we'll see you again in December."
Yeah, that's one of my
guys that they flip.
That's one of my favorite parts about Texas. They're like, "Yeah, all right."
Somebody asked if a high school has 600 plus graduating class, what class is it nowadays in Texas? That's a 6A.
A 5A? No, that'd probably be a big 5A. Because 6As are more in the thousands.
Yeah, 600 graduating class. So 600.
Yeah, that would be 2,400.
Yeah,
that'd be 2,400. Yeah, that's a small 6A.
That's about how big Westlake is, though.
I thought Westlake was bigger than that.
I don't think so.
Well, with Lake Travis and with the new school coming up out there, you might be right.
Oh, you know what? Okay, They're in like the 2,800 range.
Thanks, AR. We love your dedication, man. We love seeing you in the chat, dude. We love all the engagement. We appreciate you, dude. All right. Derek Cooper, baby, running back. We're looking to take 2. Looking at KJ Edwards. He was hanging out with those Colorado guys, though, wasn't he? I think I saw that. Get Dion away from him.
He took an official visit out there for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And because he was KJ smart. Take the officials, the free trips.
Why
Go out
not?
there and experience the world and see things. And when you're done, you'll know where home is.
So KJ Edwards and also Derek Cooper, big options right here.
Yeah, Texas jumped into this one. You know what's funny? Tashard Choice rarely missed, but towards the end of his tenure, he had a hard time getting Derek Cooper on campus. And I think it's because he already had Tredarian Ball, KJ Edwards, Javian Osborne, Amari Latimer. He already had a few other guys I think he had thought maybe a little bit higher of. Chad Scott comes in and goes, we got to get this guy on campus. Like, Derek Cooper is beautiful. That's a big, fast running back.
But he runs forward and physical, right? So it's like you're getting both, you know? That's great.
He's a bigger kid. He's a bigger sized kid than your typical running back, but yet he still has the elusiveness and the speed. And so he's a no-brainer. And this one, you know, I think Miami's going to throw Jackson Cantwell top stuff money at this kid because they don't want him to leave the state. They need this guy in this class. I know Georgia absolutely wants him. Ohio State seemed to be, I think, the team to beat for the first part of his recruitment. Texas opened his eyes. His family and his family showed up in April for an unofficial visit. Texas is squarely in this one. They look really good, and he'll be on campus. I don't know if he has his date for his official visit locked in just yet, but he's going to be in Texas for an official.
He reminds me of, you say Georgia. He runs like Frazier, the second string running back on Georgia. He has that very similar style.
I see more of a Garrison Hurst.
I'm down with that. But like Frazier has this like fast, like he runs like he's big, you know, like physical, but the speed is there. And he has the whole like running out of a burning fire style. Ian, what was your eval on Cooper?
Running back.
Oh, cool. Thank you. What traits of his running did you like?
I like the jump cuts. I like him better than some of the highly touted East Texas products that we've watched in the same class.
I disagree. I like them both, is what I'm saying.
They want 2 this cycle. They're going to take 2. They're going to take 2 in, and it would be okay to get both of them.
Correct.
You know what this running back room needs? A dose of KJ and Cooper.
Yeah. I like KJ, man. He's a fun player. But Cooper,
it's funny because people kind of hold him playing on such a good team hold it against him. But speed is speed. Elusiveness is elusiveness. Yeah. He runs away from everybody. And he understands holes and leverage and gap. And like, he's so well coached. That's the beauty of him playing at Carthage. They are going to be so prepared when they show up for college.
Hey, Justin.
Hey, Ian.
In 1982.
We're not going back to this, dude.
No, if he's got something concrete, bring it. You forget I'm the old man. I lived it.
Beaumont Westbrook won the 5A state championship in 1982 as the first team to get in as number 2 in their district. They had 4 losses.
And what was the reason the number 1 team didn't get in? Was it ineligible player?
No, they both got in.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure 82 was the first.
I'm pretty sure I ain't going to cut the cheese on this one, dog.
I'll continue my research.
Right. Hey, and just understand, it was like that with basketball and with baseball. And it was really, back then, the argument was there were really good second-place teams in a lot of districts, like some that could beat other first-place teams in district. And so there was a long-time argument that open it up a little bit. Let another team come in. And eventually they did, and then they let another, and then they let another. And now you can have a losing record getting the playoffs because it's a money grab. But there was an argument back then, Ian. They're like, look, open it up a little bit. You know, get more for it. At the same time, Ian, when we're talking about this in 1982, they didn't have overtime. If you were tied at the end of the game, you know what happened? You went by penetrations. you know what that is? Stats. How many times you were in the other team's
For
zone.
real, I didn't know that.
First downs was an indicator. You could have tied the state champion, but if you didn't have another first down over the other one, you lost.
I didn't know that. Derek, chat. You guys rule the winner, and then we'll move forward. All right, Derek Cooper, a fun running back, man. Can we snatch him out of Georgia? That's the big question. But
Florida, they
Florida,
can't
sorry.
get him out of Georgia, but they can get him out of Florida.
He's in Gainesville, right? Is that where I'm?
No, Gainesville is Gainesville is Xavier Griffin, Gainesville, Georgia.
That's what I got.
And Derek Cooper is Fort Lauderdale, Chaminade Madonna Prep.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Madonna actually attended that school. I think she's from Michigan, but they put her in there.
Yeah, that was very nice of them.
I think our resident Catholic Joe Cook told me Madonna is attached to a Catholic name.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's.
I want to talk about these RPMs before we get out of here.
I was gonna say, man, let's get to your RPM, dude.
It wasn't just me. Charlie Williams and I joined in on one. After catching up with sources over the last few days, we decided to drop one for the 4-star offensive tackle prospect.
From Prosper, yeah.
Zayden Crimpin. Let me tell you something about Zayden Crimpin. He can play every position on the field. And I'm going to have Ian do a notebook of him here in probably another month. He can play every single position on the field. And that's why I think the versatility. He wants to be at offensive tackle, and I understand that. But this guy could play center in this class. He could play he could play guard. He could play anywhere. He is an old school guy. You know, there's a Jake Majors vibe to him, except he's bigger, faster, and stronger.
And this is sophomore tape, by the way.
And they're from the same school. If that didn't jive,
yeah.
I love Crimpin, and I love that I think he's going to be in this class.
Do you have an older brother that played?
I'd have to ask.
Okay, name is a little familiar to me.
It's a cool name.
It's a very cool name, Zayden Crimpin.
Yeah, it sounds.
And
like
you know what? Full disclosure, I messed his name up in the first junior day. I called him Caden. What was it? Caden Zrimpin or something. The first two things mixed up, and their family was so nice about it. Now, some parents would like bite my head off, but their family was so nice. They're like, "Hey, you mixed up the name and the word." His family is outstanding. I love that Charlie's gotten closer to him. I've gotten a little bit closer to Zayden. It's just a great group. And let me tell you something. He's got some nasty to him. He's got some nasty tenacity, some Mark Stepnoski to him. The long hair, wanting to kill you. I love him. I think he will be tremendous in this class.
He has good feet. Did you see that pass blocking there? That was solid, man.
Can we go over? So 2026 is looking like huge Melissa kid, 6'8" kid that I saw with Charlie. What's that kid's name again?
Max Wright. Dad played D lineman for Oklahoma State.
Max Wright, Big Pimpin, Turntine,
Robertson,
Ojo,
and Crimpin.
Because
Crimpin ain't easy.
That's 4, right?
Robertson.
Big sexy is Robertson. Nicholas Robertson.
He's already committed.
He's already committed.
It's like
Max Wright and Robertson are already in this class.
That's like 3 or 4 out of 5 that could play tackle, right?
Remember, that was the emphasis in this cycle because they only took one last year. I didn't even claim him as one until he proved me wrong in the spring and showed that he can hold down offensive tackle. They only took one the last cycle. They had to stack up. Max Wright is more of your project, moldable guy that you could see playing in the NFL in 4 years with growth and with opportunity. Ojo and Turntine are probably a little bit more early impact type guys, especially Ojo. But honestly, Crimpin might be as polished as any of them.
Dude, he has great feet, man. And this is sophomore, like I'm saying. This is sophomore.
Yeah, he's a rock star, guys. If you've not seen his hair, every offensive line needs a guy like Zayden Crimpin.
And dude, if you fall on guys, even after the whistle, I love you at offensive line. Like, I need to see that kind of.
Well, they're tired, Connor.
But no, I'm just saying, like, that mentality is exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You remember DJ Campbell's tape? Like, he was just knocking people's shoes off and like That's what I like to see.
And then
so I
you
want
body rub him as you roll
yeah,
across
like
the top
no,
of him,
I'm not knocking when I say that.
humiliating him.
Yeah, that's what I want to see from an offensive lineman.
I think a lot of it is they just tired.
Crippen and
Gives him a
Crippen
break.
and Turntine seem like they could end up seeing the field early on inside if they come to Texas,
Potentially.
And then work out.
and then stay there or maybe move outside based on how things go.
His feet are nice, man.
Max Wright ain't probably not going to play inside at 6'8".
Max Wright's an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll just be. He's a 3 or 4th year starter, likely, right?
And
Projection
same
wise.
thing for Ojo. I don't think Ojo might be an amazing tackle, but I don't know if he would be a very good guard.
He's too tall. Ojo's 6'7.5".
Yeah.
Is there another big flip like Terry in the cards? I don't know, but I bet you there will be. Just
I'm going to go out on a limb and go yes, but Terry wasn't flipped. Terry decommitted from USC in the spring, reopened his recruitment, and so that one wasn't technically a flip. But if we're talking Sark recruiting December,
yeah,
there will be flips.
yeah. Odds are, man.
I'll take those odds. There will be flips.
Man, I haven't watched Crimpen's tape yet, and I love it.
And Prosper is a great program with offensive linemen. They have done a great job. They've got one of the best offensive lines in high school football, and they've done a tremendous job. Give Jake Majors some love for starting that tradition. They've got other guys over there. Bryce Gilmore is another big-time recruit that's going to wind up playing P4 somewhere. Prosper they do a great job at developing and give that staff a lot of credit.
I considered moving to Prosper a few years ago.
Yes, Aaron Gregg. Hey, that's a high tax zone.
I was gonna say, so Eric the other day, I think on the Monday show, we had someone ask about Gregory, and he said there's a lot of NIL involved, and that Texas likely does not want to engage in that. So we'll see. Eric was kind of going away from Aaron Gregory at A&M.
Yeah, there's something we're watching there with Gregory. There's mutual interest there, but there's other factors that we're now having to deal with.
Cool.
Put it that way. Any other details, you may need to just come see us at InsideTexas.com.
There we go, Justin.
Hey, Sugar Father, not your ignorance, my bud. Not your ignorance. Hey, a lot of people thought he was a late flip from Georgia just because he was the best player in Georgia, and there was no way Kirby Smart was going to let him go. But he did, and he's a horn, and he looks like a massive freak.
Dude, those pictures, man.
He'll be good to go. But no ignorance there, Father, Sugar Father. You're always in the good graces of Inside Texas.
Inside Texas. Yeah.
Keep the sugar flowing.
Yeah, keep it flowing.
Keep the sugar.
You will remain in our good graces. All right, chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. Justin, thank you. Ian, I know I'm just a half of what a Joe Cook could do here, but we'll be happy to have Joe Cook back. He'll be on the Friday shows tomorrow after his journey from Destin. All right,
Joe doesn't let us get away with as much stuff as you do. Joe's more rigid, more. He's more formal. Connor, you just let us do whatever we want. You let Ian and I knock each other's heads off.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, if it's an entertaining product, right?
You have to understand something though. I love battling with Ian more than anybody because 1, it's never personal. 2, I usually learn something every time I talk to him. And 3, he makes me a smarter person. So I will battle Ian until my last breath.
I have friends that watch this show that knew me back in high school, and watching Justin yell at me just gave me such delight. They're like, yeah, somebody push back against this freaking guy. Let him have it, Justin. Let him have it.
Hey, people understand. Hey, they think if they think there's anything contentious, you are wrong. I love Ian Boyd like a brother, and I know when I submit when I'm wrong. But when he brings up basketball,
don't try it. Chat, thank you. Ian, thank you. Justin, thank you. This is IT Live, and it was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Y'all have a wonderful day. Later, y'all.